Welcome back to World This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. With me, I have the super learned and amazing and very energetic Shahzad Khan, your very favorite.
Thank you very much, Kavida.
I'm Shaza Hashmi, and if you did miss the first segment, very quick recap. We were talking about all the rights overseas Pakistanis are now demanding to have, and then the government is complying to them as well in all the things that they can be achieved, of course. Because in the end, is parcham ke saaye tale hum ek hain, no matter where we live. If you're a Pakistani, you're a Pakistani. But we are still going through a pandemic as well. While we definitely cater to or listen to all the other problems people are having, this is a continuous problem, Shahzad, and for more than 2 years now.
Exactly.
And today as well, I think the committee is going to announce if the schools, universities and colleges are going to be closed again or not. Do you think they will be?
Well, I think that it's the need of the hour, and it's because of the fact that the positivity ratio is going up. You know, just yesterday we actually spoke about the numbers as well, and it doubled. You know, in just 2 weeks' time, where it was at 7.8% with 50,000 new tests as well, and with 700 critical patients. So, you know, for kids, I think it's very important to be safe, because unfortunately I've gone through that time when, you know, my daughter was diagnosed with MISC, multi-inflammatory syndrome, which is a post-COVID situation, because when kids get COVID, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people cannot figure it out because they're asymptomatic, but the antibodies rise in such a level to such an extent where it starts to kind of start affecting your organs as well. But, you know, I think it's important. We'll let the committee decide about that. But today we're certainly discussing something where, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of cancer patients are immunosuppressants, are on immunosuppressants, and when we talk about immunosuppressants, your immunity is compromised. And when we have such a deadly virus outside, you know, we are very vulnerable to them. So I think what we really need to do is we need to be in a conversation with an expert. But before we do that, we have a small report on Omicron variant of these COVID. So go ahead, take a look, and when you guys will come back, we've actually imported a gentleman from England to Pakistan, because last time he was on Skype, and that too from England as well. So let's do it. Please take a look at this report.
Omicron, the latest variant of concern the WHO is tracking, has been detected around the world.
The World Health Organization, while labeling the new variant as Omicron, classified it as highly transmissible.
What we are seeing is a very sharp increase in case numbers. You will have noticed in the latest WHO update, almost 10 million cases reported.
The variant has about 50 mutations not seen in combination before, including more than 30 mutations on the spike protein the coronavirus uses to attach to human cells.
A number of reasons for this. First is the mutations that it has. The virus is able to adhere to human cells more easily. It has mutations that allow it to do that. Second is that we have what is called immune escape. And this means that people can be reinfected.
While the number of infections is significantly higher, the rates of deaths and even hospitalizations are much lower when compared to Delta.
With Omicron, what we are learning is that your risk of getting severe disease from Omicron is less than it is for Delta. But the sheer volume of cases that we are seeing around the world is really astonishing. And even with a lower risk of hospitalization, we're still seeing a large number of people who need clinical care, who are hospitalized, and that will overburden the system.
Pakistan's active coronavirus cases jumped past 35,000 for the first time since October 15, 2021. As the new Omicron variant spreads, experts say the best defense against all viral variants that cause COVID-19 is a full dose of a vaccine followed by a booster shot. COVID-19 vaccine train our immune system to make antibodies using synthetic versions of the virus's spike protein, the part of the virus that helps it bind to human cells. If a vaccinated person later encounters the virus, the antibodies recognize it and bind to the spike protein to prevent infection. A booster dose of the Pfizer vaccine increases antibody levels by 25-fold, which should be sufficient to neutralize Omicron.
Vaccinations are incredibly protective against severe disease and death, including against Omicron as well as Delta, where both of those variants are circulating. Minimize exposure so that we can minimize those case numbers so that they don't have that knock-on effect of having a burdening of the healthcare system as well as other sectors.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the founder of Killing Cancer Kindly and Obviously, he happens to be a consultant clinical oncologist as well. He is Dr. Mohammad Muneeb Khan. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam, Shehzad. Assalamu alaikum, Shehzad.
Assalamu alaikum.
How does it feel to be in the studios? Because last time you were over the Skype.
Yes, it's much better seeing you guys face to face. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to have you. So we have given a brief out for better understanding of people, and you know how there's so many variants as well. But today we're talking about people who have a lower immunity level. You know, it can be because of any disease, but usually we're precisely focusing on cancer patients as well. So what do you have to say in the first place, and then we'll start an array of questions.
This is something which has been overlooked, that immunity and immunosuppression plays a very important role in spread of pandemics.
And in mutation as well?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, normally when you get infected, the virus replicates, has many children, many generations. In immunosuppressed patients, there's a longer time before the immune system can kill the virus. So you have many, many more generations in immunosuppressed patients than in the immunocompetent patients. So the Omicron variant, which started from Botswana, has started in an immunosuppressed person. And because that person's immune system, whether it was cancer chemotherapy, organ transplant treatment, or whether it was HIV or AIDS, because Botswana has 20% HIV positive population. So whatever the reason was, it took that person a very long time to clear the infection, and hence we had more than 30 mutations accumulated.
Right.
Okay.
And this is the 13th variant of the COVID virus. We've had the alphas and the betas, and then many small strains which came and went, which didn't make a big impact. The Delta, of course, was quite toxic. However, they named it after the 15th alphabet of the Greek language.
Yeah, why so? They've been 13 so far,
Yes.
right?
No, that's very political.
Okay.
Because the 13th alphabet of the Greek language is called Nu.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a confusion if they call it the new variant.
Oh,
it's
got it.
NU, new in
NU,
Greek,
yes.
and people think it's a new variant, but what's the name?
Yeah.
And the 14th is very interesting. The 14th alphabet in Greek language is G, X-I, G. And G is a very common Chinese
Chinese
name.
name.
Yeah.
And the Chinese were already getting a lot of flack from Donald Trump and everyone else about the Chinese virus. So they didn't want the G. So they skipped the 13th and 14th alphabet and called it the Omicron, which is the 15th alphabet of the Greek language.
I wonder how the Chinese skipped on the 13 as well, because usually the world does, but they don't. But now, sir, I think what is more important for us to kind of ask you is that for all of those people who are on immunosuppressants or whose immunity is compromised, how do you think they can protect themselves? Because I still remember I was traveling back from New York, and I was in England earlier, so all of a sudden the doctors told me that, hey, you know what, we cannot really attend to you. Because the first right will obviously be given to British people, and then only then we will be able to kind of look after you as well. So I thought that, hey, you know what, rather than being open or being vulnerable to a risky situation, it's better that I travel and go back. So I was traveling back, got back home, and hey, boom, I'm COVID positive. So, for people whose immunity is compromised, they just cannot help it, with even 2 masks, with even gloves on, with sanitizer on. No matter what happens, it just gets to you. So how do we protect ourselves from these deadly viruses?
First thing which this pandemic has taught us is that we are all one community. We live in a global village. Something starts in Botswana. Within a month, it's all over the world in every continent. Secondly, the people who are most vulnerable in our society, health-wise, the immunocompromised, they need to be looked after the most. It's not the survival of the fittest. It's the survival of the weakest which is going to protect us. Because you saw when they were not giving vaccines to Botswana, they were not looking after immunocompromised patients, a new strain emerged. Fortunately, it's a mild strain. It could have been a nastier strain. And we could have all faced a deadly epidemic because, a bigger epidemic, a pandemic, because we were not looking after the most vulnerable in our society. Human society has learned this lesson, that the most vulnerable are the most important. The chain is as strong as the weakest link. So if you have a chain of iron, but you've got a rope or a cord in between, the strength of the chain is determined by the weakest point. So it's closest to my heart, being an oncologist, that my patients who were immunocompromised, they get detected early, they get more protection, they should be prioritized on the vaccination, as you said, Shehzad. It is criminal negligence not to give them vaccination early on, and they should also be teed up for boosters earlier than others. In fact, their immunity level, immunoglobulin levels, antibody levels should be checked. And if they are low, they should be offered the boosters earlier than the other people.
And sir, I must share over here, I'm very sorry Shiza, I know
No
that
problem.
you really want to ask something, but where you said that it's criminal, but I'm very thankful to the government of Pakistan because they had this database with them as well, where there were a lot of cancer patients on it, and this in particular made a call on my cell phone and they said we have actually kept a dose of Pfizer for you, but by then I've already gotten a vaccine. So I think a great shout out to for all of those people who were looking after people like me and everybody else like me out there.
Well, of course, we really pray that everyone stays safe amidst this variant as well. But Dr. Saab, a few days back, my siblings and my entire family contracted the virus. And so interestingly, if one day they're all positive and few days later my parents are negative. So we were happy about that, it's all right. But the siblings, so the doctor they were going to said that it's a good news that you have developed this variant, because this one is going to get all of you, and if it has gotten to you, you're good. But it didn't make sense to me. I was like, pata nahi kya keh rahe hain Dr. Saab, aap sab apna khayal rakhiye, kawa piye, the typical desi things, right? Is it true though?
Yep. With Omicron, there's good news and there's very good news.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So there's only good news, yeah.
So the good news is that it's got mild symptoms.
Right.
It is not ending up with a lot of hospitalization. Even
Thank
people with
God.
Omicron, if they go to hospital, they don't end up in intensive cares, very few of them.
Thank God.
The mortality rate is very low,
Okay.
which is good. The great news is that it's replacing the alpha, delta, beta variants. So because it causes mild symptoms, people mingle, they walk around, they go out, they spread it more. There's a mutual survival advantage for the virus
Okay.
and the host.
Okay.
So the humans are surviving, which means the virus is surviving. And that's the way nature goes. More than 100 years ago, the Spanish flu took 3 years to turn into a milder variant. And this time, it's taken exactly the same time.
Although
for
we're 100
COVID,
years apart.
Yes, to become Omicron, which is a mild variant. And the very good news is that I predict, and I've been saying it for the last 2 months, that this year the pandemic is going to be over.
Inshallah, and we really hope so too. But Dr. Saab, you said that, you explaining how it's good news, that makes me make a very simple layman question as well.
Go ahead.
Having one variant in your body or your biological system, does that mean it does not allow the other one to enter?
There's twofold. Firstly, when you've got the one variant, yes, viruses do compete for the host cells.
Okay.
There's only a number of cells they can infect, and if it's already infected the cell, another variant can't come in. Secondly, because the delta and alpha variants, they make people very unwell. People are taken to the bed or they die, so they don't get the chance to spread it.
Okay,
Omicron, milder symptoms give you the chance to spread it more. But I must say here, when you're lucky, the first rule of luck is don't push your luck.
You don't push it. I like it. I
Don't
like
push your
it.
luck, ladies and gentlemen. This is something which you really need to stand by as well. But sir, there's one more important aspect to it. Now, for example, when we talk about people with, weak immunity, what we really need to kind of talk about is that over the last 2 years, the most popular treatment for COVID has been dexamethasone.
Yes.
And it has been a steroid, right? And we have seen conditions amongst people elderly and obviously, people as young as 18 or 20 that, somebody developed atrial fibrillation, somebody developed something else, people developing diabetes. Now, for people who already, whose immunity is compromised, what do you think, how do you think they can really look after themselves even after they were on dexamethasone as well?
Okay. First thing we must remember is that in life, everything comes with risks.
Yeah.
Even a sip of water can make you choke.
True.
So whether you get immunization or you get infection or you get treatment with steroids, there are going to be side effects.
True.
Now, what we need to do is we have to be careful with all the sanitizations and the gloves and the distance and everything, because we do not want this virus to mutate into a worse form. Fortunately, we've got a mild form, but we don't want it to mutate into a worse form. And secondly, general health, and that's where prevention of disease comes in. The best treatment is prevention. We need to educate the people, the immunocompromised, how can they look after themselves, reduce the risk of infections, general health. You'd be surprised to know that mental health is very important.
True.
Yes.
If you are stressed and depressed, your body produces steroids and they suppress your immune system.
All right.
And within hours, your immunity can go down. So it's mental and physical health both that we have to focus on and improve, and tell people how to improve that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for saying that, and thank you so much for being here, Dr. Saab. We really would love to have you again when, inshallah, the pandemic is over, and we'd love to congratulate you on your prediction as well. We hope it does end this time. Ladies and gentlemen, for right now, the variant is out there, of course. Like Shahzad mentioned, the positivity ratio yesterday the rate was 7.8, and just this morning I was reading in more than 4 cities of Pakistan, the positivity rate has been recorded more than 10, which is absolutely insane. So please, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, follow the SOPs, and let's all pray together the pandemic ends this time.
Ameen, so Ameen, just like Dr. Saab has predicted as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, till the next time, look after yourselves, drive safely, because early in the morning, it's very foggy when it's Islamabad, Lahore, and the other areas of Punjab as well. The snowfall is taking place. Make sure to keep yourself warm. Don't get ill, because there are a lot of other viruses out there as well, and we really want everybody to be healthier out there as well. So, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Take care.
Thank you very much.